G'day, boys. How's it going? Today, we're going to talk a bit about personal finance, especially when it comes to the young people. I get a lot of 14, 15, 16-year-olds asking me, what's the best way of making money? How do I get more money? How do I get more money? Tell me the best way of making money. For some of us, we get quite lucky in the sense that if we invest in, let's say, a crypto before it takes off, we invest in a particular stock before it takes off. If we win the lottery and we get a few $1 million here and there, we're set for life. But most of us, 99.9% of us, are not going to be in any position like that. So for the young people, let's start with some basic accounting. Assets equals liabilities plus equities. That's a bit of mumble jumble for accounting. What it basically means is your net worth is just your asset base, what you have, minus your liabilities, what you owe other people, for example, if you have a car that's worth 10K, but you borrowed $8,000 to buy that car is actually only worth 2K for you. Because even though the car itself is 10K, when you take away the 8K that you borrowed to pay for it, you only have 2K remaining. So our net worth, after we establish that mindset or the framework where we have what you own minus what you owe, we can now take a look at what changes your net worth, your net assets. So that's going to be your income, right? More income increases your net assets, minus your expenses. Expenses are costs. They take away from your net assets, plus the change in value of your existing assets. So for example, if you invested into, I don't know, let's say property, and the value of your property doubles, well, then that doubling contributes to an increase in your net assets. But just as easily, if the price of your property or your stock or whatever takes a nosedive, then your net assets, your net worth also takes a hit. When we're most young people, unless your parents are unless you're born really, really rich with rich parents and you loaded, or you have an inheritance, or like I said earlier, you have a lottery, something like that. For most young people, our existing net worth, our existing net assets is very close to zero. We don't own much. We might get some pocket money, $50 here and there. We might get, once a year from your grandma or something for your birthday, gives you $100. But other than that, we don't have much of an asset base to begin with. So if we look at that equation again, the change in your net worth is determined by income minus expenses plus change in existing assets. The income portion, I'll see if I can pull up the screen or something. The income portion, when you're young, is the vast majority of what drives your change in net worth. You don't have many expenses to begin with. Now, I understand, I'm talking from a position of privilege. I'm in Australia. I still live at home. So my expenses, there aren't much. I pay some bills here and there, buy some groceries here and there, go shopping once in a while, eat out once in a while. But other than that, expenses are non-existent. So my income is driving my change in net worth. So the first takeaway is increase your income. I know that sounds bleeding obvious. Increase your income. Of course, why didn't I think of that? But really, a lot of young kids want to hear about, do these 5 steps to get rich quick. There is no get rich quick scheme, because if there was, we'd all be taking advantage of that. You'll hear a lot of people say, especially online influencers, start your own business, start a following. And that is a viable strategy. But when you're young, you're not, realistically speaking, you're not going to be running any kind of business. So invest in yourself. That would be, and a lot of young kids don't want to hear this, that would be your education. Do good in school. Do well in school. Get good grades. Get a nice degree, diploma, whatever it is in your country. And with that nice degree, get a nice paying job. That's how you kickstart your income. And then once you get a bit older, then you can trim down your expenses. Let's say instead of eating out 3 times a week, you eat out twice a week. Little things. But for the most part, your income, that's a key point here. Your income is going to be the big driver of how to get rich quick. Income. Focus on your income. And then once you're hitting around the 18-year-old mark, 20-year-old mark, when you can make a lot more financial decisions by yourself, still invest towards your income. What do I mean by that? Let's say there's a certification of some sort that's going to cost you, I'm making up numbers here. Let's say it's going to cost you $5,000 to do, and it's going to take a year to complete. $5,000 for a lot of people is a lot of money. But let's say you do that course, take that $5,000, put it towards your future self. Now that you have this fancy degree or fancy certification, you can go to a lot of employers, especially with these days software engineering. They are really, really in demand. So if you can prove that, look, I've done this course, or I have this experience, I have these skills, you go to your employer and say, look, pay me more. I've got the skills. If you don't pay me, someone else will. And even if you don't take that gung-ho mindset, the fact is you're going to have something that's going to be worth, let's rephrase that. You're going to have something that allows you to earn more, right? For example, for myself, if I don't have my degree, I would not be able to work in the job, in the industry that I'm working in right now. Collect my thoughts. Been rambling a lot earlier today. So then a lot of people ask or think about, I wanted to know some investment tips. And this is not financial advice. Of course it's not. Can't be financial advice. But a lot of people say, invest in crypto, invest in Bitcoin, invest in this stock, invest in gold, invest in whatever. Let's think back a few minutes ago when I was talking about the change in your net worth. Income minus expenses plus change in existing assets. This part is the part that everyone's focusing about. If you just invest in, people always bring up, lately at least, Bitcoin and cryptos, where you can just 10 times or 100 times your money. You could have easily lost all of your money. If you think about the Beanie Baby craze of a few years ago, people thought they were going to be worth a couple thousand, tens of thousands of dollars for those little puppets, dolls. They're all but worthless now, except to some really eccentric collectors. I never understood that stuff. So when you have, let's talk, for example, index funds, or we're talking about bank accounts where they pay you some fixed interest, let's say 5%. You invest that $1,000 or $5,000 into something that pays 5%. After a year, getting a few $100s. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money. But if you took that $5,000, invested in your earning potential, that's going to be worth a lot more. And that affects not just going to be 1 year's salary, it's going to be your salary for the rest of your career, for as long as you choose to work. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself. And your value, your perspective of money is going to change a lot. So after we think about that, for your own peace of mind, so before you start to run, you have to learn to walk. For your own peace of mind, build up a financial asset base. So the commonly given advice, it's really hot in Australia right now, it's really damn sunny. Build up an asset base. So the common advice is going to be something like 3 months worth of expenses, 6 months worth of expenses. Whatever is applicable to you, have that asset base. If you're lucky enough to be living at home and you still have parents that work, you have to worry about this a lot less, because even if you don't have a job, even if you don't have an income, you're going to have someone to fall back on, mum and dad. But for those who are living to paycheck to paycheck, or don't have the bank of mum and dad to rely on, build up that financial base first. 3 months of expenses, and I'm talking just base expenses, just the necessary expenses that you need to live. So I'm not including, your Spotify subscription, your Netflix subscription, your eating out, fancy dinners, your fancy gym subscription, and all that stuff. I'm talking about just the bare minimum. so that in the event you lose your job or something happens, you'll be able to at least survive for the next 3 months, right? And 3 months, 6 months, people keep debating about this. It's going to be up to you, but that's going to be a big boon, a big help to your, let's call it mental game. You're going to be a lot more relaxed if you just think, oh, okay, I've got this amount in the bank. I'm set for the next 2 months, the next 3 months. Even if what I'm doing doesn't work out, I'll be set. One more thing that's going to be unrelated. It's going to be a tangent. But the value of money is going to change for you as you progress throughout life. Like $1 is always going to be worth $1. But the value of that $1 to you is going to change. So when I was in high school, don't remember when I started, been around year 8 or year 9. So that would be 12, 13 years old. I started selling soft drinks at school. So I would bulk buy cans of soft drink or bottles of soft drink from the supermarket, from wherever I can get them, chuck them in the fridge or the freezer, take them to school to the next day and sell them to the other kids. So I was buying, let's say, a can of Coke or a bottle of off-brand Coke for 40 or so cents. 40 cents, not a lot. And then I'll go ahead and sell them for 70 cents. Sweet. I almost doubled my money. Put in 40 cents, get out 70 cents. As a return on investment percentage, that's really high. But it's just 30 cents. And I'll be carrying 7, 8 of those bottles with me every single day in my backpack. Right, 7 cans, 8 cans or bottles doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're walking long distances, carrying them with you the whole day, it's really heavy. And all for what? $2 of profit at the end of the day. Now, $2 to me back then, 12-year-old, 13-year-old me, $2 was a lot of money. All right, I grew up with, let's say, stingy. All right, I grew up with some stingy grandparents. And they really ingrained into, and I didn't say that in a negative way. They taught me the value of money. They taught me not to waste money, to be frugal. And I'm really grateful for that. So $2 to me was a lot. But now, $2 to me, if I drop $2, if I drop $20, I wouldn't be crying over it. All right, let's go back for a bit. $20. Sorry, fuck. $2 per day. That's $10 a week if I manage to sell everything. $10. It's not a lot of money now. I remember after graduating high school when I first started doing tutoring, coaching, whatever you want to call it, for this company. When they hired me to do some marking. So just ticks and crosses, sitting there for a couple of hours, ticks and crosses. It was boring, mind-numbing stuff. But by the end of the week, the boss lady came up to me and said, look, he should pay for the week. 200 something odd dollars. And I would remember thinking to myself, fuck, that's a lot of money. Back then I was making $2 a day, $10 a week on a good week. And here I am just sitting for a couple of hours, ticks and crosses. I got $200. That's amazing. And all of a sudden I think back, it wasn't really worth breaking my back. It wasn't literally breaking my back, but it wasn't worth carrying all that heavy stuff, hurting my back. For what? $2 a day. I should have done what the smart kids were doing. Instead of carrying heavy stuff, they were selling like lollies and stuff. Buy a big pack of lollies, sell them individually, 10 cents here, 10 cents there. They weren't breaking their backs. They were the smart kids. I wish I did that, eh? Free money. But continue. Then I got promoted into an actual tutor, an actual teacher teaching the classes. And then my pay per hour went up a lot. Or actually, yeah, it pretty much doubled. And all of a sudden, again, I was thinking, God, this is so much money. I can make a couple hundred a week. And then at my highest, I I think the most I ever earned in a week was almost $3,000 just for a week of teaching. Granted, it was a lot of classes, and my voice would be dying by the end of the week. A lot of money. And then again, I would think back, $2 a day. It's nothing. Time progresses on. I get better at teaching. I get recognized for my efforts. I started teaching at university, doing, I think it was two or three classes a week at university. Got paid even more. And then I start my full-time job. Again, all the way through this, I've been studying at university, working on my degree, working on myself. I start my full-time job. Right? Low 6,000. Sorry, low 60,000. And again, I'm getting this revelation. Why was I working so hard? Why was I teaching so many classes, putting my voice, making it hurt? When I can just sit down in my cushy office job, cushy office job that I thought at the time, I'll be making 60,000. And then again, working my way up the corporate ladder, now low six figures. And I'll be thinking back again, why? The mindset, the mentality, how you view a dollar, it's going to change as you grow up. Don't be too fixated on scrimping every last dollar in the expense category. Remember, income minus expenses. If you save $2 here, save $2 there, yeah, it definitely adds up. But don't beat yourself over it if you don't save a dollar here, don't save a dollar there. Every dollar adds. Right? I'm going to make that absolutely clear. Every dollar adds up. It's why I attribute my net worth to being so high right now. Because I saved. Because I didn't spend unnecessarily. While all of the kids, Australia here, alcohol is damn expensive. While all of the kids were going out to bars and clubs, getting 2, 3, 5, 10 shots every weekend, every Friday night. I didn't do that. Yeah, it would have been fun, but I didn't do that. I wasn't going to spend $200 on a night out, $300 on a night out. It just wasn't worth it for me. For me, I could be investing that $200-$300 back into myself, buying equipment that I need or that I want, studying more courses, taking those couple $100, couple $1,000, like I said, every $2, $3 that you save adds up, and then you have $1,000, $2,000. Invest that into the market. Invest in that into whatever. It all adds up. Speaking of investing, I thought I was getting ahead of myself. I remember at university I was doing this course. It was called Venture Capital. So that's basically where you invest directly into a company. And because I did that course, I was thinking, oh gosh, I'm a genius now. I know everything there is to know about investing. And so when one of my friends, actually, not really a friend, I'll get into the importance of confidence and all that stuff later. But the reason I initially invested into him, right, he was making a post on, I think it was Facebook. He's like, look, guys, my company, we're growing. We need investment. Hit me up. And so I did. Initially, I hit him up because the way I met him was in high school. So this happened during university. But when I first met him, it was in high school, and he came off as this really cool, really confident, really knows what he's doing kind of guy. Later, as I'll get into the story another time, but later I would find out that actually it was all an act. And I don't say that in a bad way, but I'm saying that in a fake it till you make it kind of way. Because he was faking it. In a good way, because he was building up his confidence. And the mini takeaway here is people don't know. Right? I met him the first time. My immediate impression of him was super cool, super confident. He wasn't. He admitted as much himself. But the initial impression was, fuck. This is supposed to be a finance video. I'm talking about confidence. This will be another video. So I invested $12,000 into him. $12,000 to me back then. This was when I think it was 19. $12,000 was a lot of money to me. right? Even at the time, my mom was telling me, no, 12K, that's like most of your savings back then. Don't do it. You don't know what's going to happen. But I was saying, no. I believe him, right? He's a cool guy. He's a confident guy. He knows what he's doing. He's got a business partner. He's got blah, blah, blah. You know, in the end, it didn't work out. But it was a great learning experience. In the same way that a lot of people say, oh, invest in this coin, invest in that coin, invest in this crypto, invest in that stock. If it works out, great, it works out. But a lot of times it crashes, you lose 90%, or in my case, I lose 100% of my investment. Those stories don't stick around because they don't sell, right? The people who put out those videos, they take them down or they delete them or they hide them. And then only the success stories, only they stay. And that's how we end up with things like, oh, you've just invested in crypto 5 years ago, you would be rich right now. And yeah, in hindsight, right? If I could get a time machine and go back and invest in whatever was going to go into the moon, I'd be rich too. But I didn't. And you didn't. And you won't, and you shouldn't. Actually, not financial advice. So do whatever you want. That's it. That's it from me today. Done.